want sign. No use to my money. Don't want sign. No use to my money.
I need all my Jacksons, all of my grants, all of my shots. Richard McCants, I need a bag. Look what a deal. You know I'm a trip. Don't play about my chips. I need a black card that's unlimited. A chick that love me like lemon heads. When it come to you dummies, I ain't gotta explain what I do with
My money.
no need for financial advisement. All I need is advertising.
What up, Hoop Heads? Welcome back. Buckets and Dimes here. Joe Cardoza and Patrick Hillwig continuing our conversation about the upcoming NBA season, which starts on Tuesday. Today we're going to talk about the West Conference. What's going on, Pat? How you doing, bro?
Oh, not too bad, man. Just kind of, enjoying the nice weather. It dropped to 50 the other day, and it just came out of nowhere. And, with all the traveling, I've been down in Mexico, and I've been all over the other places, and it's starting to get cold here, and I'm not liking it. I'm ready to go back.
Mother, just like Father Time, Mother Nature is undefeated in all things. She will not be defeated at all. But the NBA season, like we said, kicks off on Tuesday. We are excited. Excited to talk about the Western Conference teams and players that Pat and I are looking forward to seeing and expectations we have for those teams as well. But in case you guys didn't catch us last week, we're always going to start every show off with our favorite segment, and that's going to be the shoot-around. This week on the shoot-around, we're just going to talk about some of the news and notes around the NBA. Of course, today the big news is Zion Williamson, the New Orleans Pelicans, announcing that he will not be starting the season. No serious emergency, just some pain, soreness in the right knee. He's going to be out. They swear it's not severe. So unfortunately, I was very excited for the debut of Zion Williamson. We're going to have to put that on hold for a couple of weeks. But at the same time, Pat, I give props to the New Orleans Pelicans for being smart enough to hold back this kid. Because we've all seen too many examples of people who are kind of banged up. We rush him back. Ends up being a season-long injury. One guy that comes to mind with us being local DC guys is RG3. But that's what's going on with Zion Williamson right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you definitely have to be careful. He's the face of your franchise moving forward. Anthony Davis is gone. He was the guy. Now this guy's coming in. What's he going to do? Well, you're not going to find out if he's not on the court, and he's not going to be on the court for a long period of time if you try to rush him out there. So, again, I'm with you. I commend the team for taking their time with him because, this year could be very special for him. And there's a lot of hype, too. That's the crazy thing about some of these players coming into whatever sport it is. You get really hyped coming out of college or coming out of high school or whatever, and they everybody wants to see you, but, if you're not ready, if the team doesn't think you're ready, they can't bend over and just let it go. Okay, well, we need him on the court. He's going to how we sell tickets. Well, he's on the team, so your team's going to still sell tickets whether or not, he plays or not necessarily. But, yeah, definitely be cautious. That's a team that, for me, in the Western Conference, it's a team that could sneak in this year towards the end, 8th, 9th, 10th place in the Western Conference. I think Lonzo Ball to Zion is going to be something that I'm going to be interested to see what happens. I know they got Holiday too, but Ball's been playing pretty well. I've seen some of the highlights of his alley-oops to Zion. So I'm excited, and I can't wait till he actually makes his debut.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right about the hype. I mean, we see people on Twitter, check out this 8th grader. I'm like, my God, I'm so glad I didn't grow up as a young person in the social media age, because the pressure on you got to be crazy. And sitting here recording this podcast with you, Pat, and I see you proudly sporting your John Wall Wizards t-shirt. So for the Washington Wizards, great news this week. A lot of rumors about, was he going to stay? Was he going to leave? The Wizards are going to trade him. He's not a leader. Will Bradley Beal shut all that up by signing a 2-year, $72 million extension with the Washington Wizards? So we know he's locked in, he's staying, he's committed. He has said as much before he signed, after he signed. And I mean, kudos to the Wizards' new GM, Tommy Shepard. You talk about Ted Leonsis, the owner of the Wizards. They said they're going to start building this thing from the front office and changing the culture. A lot of good hires, getting a guy like Rui Hachimura, who I see a lot of people picking to be the Rookie of the Year in the NBA. So just another sign that the Washington Wizards are changing how people see them in the NBA.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think the timing is perfect because DC is becoming what they're going to call Title Town. I'm just going to say that out loud real quick, just because the Washington Nationals are going to the World Series this year.
The Mystics
just won the WNBA championship. And the Washington Capitals won a Stanley Cup championship recently as well. So, yeah, the Wizards and the Redskins need to start taking notes. and definitely move on. But no, it's in all seriously, yeah. I mean, Bradley Beal staying with us. I mean, I'm excited. He's one of the best young up and coming players in the NBA. You can't even trying to think about the teams that were interested in him for trading. I mean, every team in the NBA was interested in trading for him. I mean, that's how sought. I mean, the Lakers wanted him. Everybody wanted him,
yeah,
right? The Miami
pretty
Heat.
much.
Because think about right, because he can score, he can come around screens, and he can shoot, and he can also create his own shot as well, getting to the rim. What team doesn't want that kind of player? And the heart that he has, and I'm excited. I know that DC is excited to have him for the duration. I think he's going to be here for the next 3 years now, 3 summers. So I'm really excited to see what he can do and see if he can get better. Obviously, Wall's not going to be here this year. More than likely, could come maybe later in the year, but probably not. So he's going to have a lot on his shoulders this year. But it's great to have him here, and we'll see what he can do this year.
Also interested to see what's next for the Washington Wizards. Like, okay, you got Bradley Beal, you got all this front office change, and we're going to change the culture. I want to know what else happens, meaning like future draft picks. Are there any players in the roster currently that are going to get traded and moved around for assets, whether it be players, whether it be draft picks? A good foundation, a great start with Bradley Beal. I'm already thinking about what's next for this team. So we'll have to see what goes on with the Washington Wizards moving forward. A guy that was criticized a lot during his playing career for not speaking out, for not doing anything outside of basketball. We're talking about Michael Jordan, all-time great. Opened up a healthcare center in a lower income part of Charlotte, North Carolina. So kudos to Michael Jordan for that. It's the first of 2. It's a $7 million healthcare facility he has opened up. And if you got a chance to watch the clips and watch the press conference, you can see the emotion. I mean, during the press conference, he's talking with tears streaming down his face to have the opportunity to come back home to North Carolina, where he was born and raised, and it can help out the people that supported him throughout his whole career. So you can tell this is something that's very, very important to him. So you had Jordan open that up. Sticking with Chicago Bulls theme, Luol Deng signed a 1-day contract with the Bulls so he could be able to retire a Bull. So a 15-year career comes to an end. And I mean, I tell you what, when he came out of Duke, I wouldn't have believed you if you told me that guy would play in the NBA as long as he did, made a couple of all-star teams, and it was important for him to end his career with the team he started with, which was the Chicago Bulls. So he re-signed that 1-day contract with them. So pretty cool, man, to see Luol Deng, who I have a feeling is going to move on to bigger and better things off the basketball court. In some bad news, Houston Rockets guard Gerald Green, they've been talking about Gerald Green having an injury, didn't really know how serious it was. Come to find out it's a broken foot. They're talking about, if not the entire season being missed, a big chunk of the season not being able to play for Gerald Green. A big guy off the bench for the Houston Rockets, Pat. What are your thoughts on that loss for the Rockets?
Man, like you said, big guy off the bench. A major reason why they were able to get so far last year, going through the playoffs and everything. Can score he could shoot like nobody else. I mean, I personally remember him from the dunk contest where he jumped up and blew the candle out of the cupcake. That's like my memory of him.
That was awesome.
But, he changed his game. He really did. He's one of the best he's a streaky shooter too.
Yeah.
Once he catches fire, there's just nobody else out there that can match what he can do sometimes. And he does. I mean, he brings that bench along. That Houston Rockets team. We know James Harden's going to do what he's going to do, but who's going to be the supporting cast with him? We got Gordon. Now we got Westbrook. And Gerald Green was a big part of that. So it is going to be if he is gone for the full season, that's a big loss for them. In a year where there's title hopes for that team.
Yeah, we'll have to see. That's what they pay the big bucks to for Mike D'Antoni to figure those things out. Our last bit of news and notes is an important one. That's Shaquille O'Neal, again, sticking with that theme. It's a good theme, man, to see guys off the court doing things to help people out and showing you how far basketball can take you. Shaquille O'Neal heard the story about a victim of a shooting who was paralyzed from the chest down and was unable to be released from the hospital because his house was not handicap accessible. Well, Shaq's footing the bill. Purchasing a new house, making sure that house is handicap accessible. So kudos to Shaquille O'Neal, for being able to help that family out and make this young man's life as comfortable as possibly as it can be. Tragic story for sure, but it's good to see Shaquille O'Neal stepping up, as well as other athletes stepping up off the field, off the court, and helping out. And we hope this trend continues of, one, athletes doing it, but also the trend of people talking about it. Because a lot of times these guys do great stuff. We don't hear about it at all. But if you tweet something stupid or stumble out of a bar drunk, it's front page news. It's all over the talk shows. We want to kind of change the narrative and make this stuff take the forefront.
Yeah, couple of things that kind of reminds me of it. I mean, that's awesome. Just to hear those things, it really does show how far sports can go. You got a guy like Shaquille, but another thing is work done. Since his mother passed away, he buys homes for the kids in the I believe it's in the Atlanta area.
Yeah, for single mothers.
Yep. And Deshaun Watson's mom was actually a recipient of one of those when Deshaun Watson was a young kid. So there's a picture of Deshaun Watson standing in front of the house. That was a while ago when I saw that. But then you also got D'Angelo Williams. Mom passed away of breast cancer, I think it was breast cancer, yeah. And just paid for 500 mammograms for people that couldn't afford them. So, yeah, I mean, it's awesome when you hear these guys, whether they're currently, with the team or currently playing or not, it doesn't matter. But it's awesome when these guys really step up and do something, not just for their community, but, for anybody in need. To show these young people kind of how it's done.
Yeah, to pay it forward. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, when he had just gotten signed by the Clippers, buy I think it was 500 backpacks. And it wasn't just a backpack full of school supplies, get these kids ready to go. And of course, when you think about basketball and charitable, the I Promise School LeBron James built and has that running and being very successful, may I add. So the NBA is doing their part in the community. It's not just about stats and numbers, which is really cool. So we're finished with the shoot around. We're going to jump right into the main event of today, and that's our NBA Western Conference preview. Who are our personal top 8 teams in the Western Conference heading into the season? Players, coaches, things we want to see happen. What do we think is going to happen? We're going to kick this off with Pat, slide it over to you. So who are your top 8 teams in the Western Conference heading into the season?
Man, let me just tell you, the Western Conference is tough.
It is.
The competition in the Western Conference, the teams and how good they are. I mean, for a while there was Golden State and then it was everyone else. Well, now it's not that way anymore.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole bunch more competition. We got a bunch of trades, bunch of signings that happened that really, really changed everything. So I'm going to start it off. I'm going to go with number 1. I'm actually going to stick with the Houston Rockets. I like what they did, signing. I see it in your face, but I'm going to stick with them. I know that they can do it. James Harden, MVP candidate every year.
True.
You sign Russell Westbrook. Yeah, they lost Chris Paul, but I love Chris Paul. Don't get me wrong. I love Chris Paul, but he just could. If he could have stayed healthy, maybe it would have worked a little better, but it didn't. So Chris Paul's out of there. Russell Westbrook, Ben McLemore, Tyson Chandler. So they got a little bit of depth there as well. So I really think the Rockets can be that team this year. The number 2 team, I still have the Warriors. I know Klay Thompson's not going to be there for most of this year, but signing D'Angelo Russell, Marquise Chris is a good signing as well. Willie Cauley-Stein, that's a sneaky.
You are the biggest Willie Cauley-Stein.
Dude, I love him.
Besides his family, you love that cat, bro.
I've always liked him. I like his style. I like the way he plays. He's aggressive. But the Warriors did lose a lot. They lost KD, Andre Iguodala, DeMarcus Cousins, Sean Livingston, and that's why I think they're going to take a hit. But Steph Curry,
true story,
is going to be the MVP this year. I'm telling you right now.
With
no KD, with no Clay, no DeMarcus. I mean, Draymond's still there, but you're going to see a different Steph Curry this year. I'm telling you, he's going to put up 40 points multiple times this year because he's going to have to. Okay. He's going to have to put more into it and put more on his back. D'Angelo Russell, I love the guy. I think he's going to be great for that team. So that's where the Warriors are. I got them dropping down to number 2. The Nuggets finished second last year, but I've got the Nuggets coming in third right now. I really like that young team. They lost Isaiah Thomas, which really isn't a loss because he didn't play. But they added Jeremy Grant, which I like. They drafted Bol. We don't know what he's going to do.
I was going to say,
we don't know what he's going to do. But they drafted Bol, so that was a good draft pick. And there's a Michael Porter Jr. sighting. Let's just say it. There's a Michael Porter Jr. sighting.
How long wait for this kid to show up?
The hype on that kid, unreal. The hype on that kid's been unreal since he left Missouri. And we finally get to see him, so I'm really excited about that. I mean, that team, with Jamal Murray, with the center. I can't even. I'm drawing a blank
Oh
right now.
man,
Why
how are we both right